Hope you're having a good weekend, Central Georgia. Welcome into your weekend extended forecast. Going to talk about a lot of things. Our recent dry stretch, what that immaculate fall feeling weather is going to look like for the beginning of your weekend, but then the changes that are on their way as we head into the end of it. And then as we go into next weekend, we'll talk a little bit about what's in store in the way of maybe some rain chances, and we'll also talk about what's past your 7-day forecast and a quick update on the tropics. So first things first, let's take it over to October's rainfall. And yes, I know we're only a handful of days in, but I really just wanted to show you the averages that are going to be in store for this month. 2.34 inches of rain. That's what we averagely see on October, one of our driest months of the calendar year. So don't go expecting too much rainfall, and we know October last year was very, very dry. I think we went the entire month without even recording a single trace of rain, which is going to be a couple of drops that are just below the 1/100th inch mark. But overall, we typically don't see too much rain in the month of October unless you count 1959, where that record sits around 9 inches of rain. But so far, we're 2 days in, haven't recorded any rainfall, and it really just continues the trend that we saw in the month of September. Now, this box isn't the biggest that we see in the negative direction, just about 2 3/4 of an inch below where we should have been, but it was almost the entire month of September that we didn't record really anything in the way of considerable rainfall, except for one lone day where we lucked out and got 1/4 of an inch of rain. So your year departure of rain as we entered the month of September was somewhere around 7 to 8 inches above average. We've seen that number dip down to just over 3.5 inches above average, 3.67 inches to be exact. So this is as of October 2nd, and obviously you can see the minuscule box right now. We're running a little bit behind schedule thus far, but not to worry. Hopefully we can have a big weather maker to come through. And if we record just an inch of rain, it's definitely going to put a significant dent in that number. But it doesn't look like widespread rain chances are really in the cards as of right now. We did get an update to our drought monitor as of this past Thursday, and just like we were thinking, we saw areas of the moderate drought category expanded into central Georgia. Not necessarily coming in from the west. These areas actually lucked out and got a couple inches of rain in some spots when we had that front come through late last week, but we have seen the moderate drought get expanded into our southern and southeasternmost counties, so areas like Dublin, Eastman, Telfair, Wheeler, Montgomery counties, over to Toombs County and Vidalia, Unadilla and Cordele, and Dooley and Crisp counties. Along with that, almost all, actually in exactly all of Pulaski County, portions of southern Houston County, Bleckley County, getting up into portions of Johnson County. And then this yellow shade that you see is just your abnormally dry category. It's nothing to really worry about. It can elevate the fire risk during a dry time of the month, especially with the winds that we've been having. But that hasn't been a concern. We haven't had any fire danger statements or red flag warnings issued from the National Weather Service. So we also do see this patch of moderate drought back here closer to the state line. This is exactly what was present as of the last drought monitor a week ago in the time. It doesn't look like the rainfall that we received farther to the west did a very good job of maybe putting a dent in those dry conditions. And we also see the moderate drought category expanded over into portions of western Upson County, and along with that, Pike County just to the north portion of Upson County. So yes, it's been a very dry stretch to say the very least, but this moderate drought, what exactly does that mean? Obviously, it is a step up from the abnormally dry conditions that most of central Georgia finds themselves in. But our moderate drought is where you start to see impacts like this. Your gardens, your lawns, and your flower pots, they're going to require some more water throughout the day. Specifically, your gardens and your flowers. Your lawns are built to withstand a very dry stretch. Your grass does a very good job of retaining some water. So what you need to do is just carve out some time to fill up the watering can and maybe go water your gardens, water your flowers. Don't set the sprinkler to go off a couple times throughout the day, because that's actually going to kind of just confuse the grass. Like I said, the grass is built to withstand some dry stretches like this. In fact, you probably need to water your grass less or not at all as we're in a moderate drought situation. It doesn't sound like it's the best solution. It actually sounds quite counteractive, but trust me, this is the guidance that we do see from the U.S. Drought Monitor Association whenever they release these dry conditions each and every week. And then it also means that stream and pond levels are going to be lower. So that means the water is going to be shallower already in those low bodies of water. It can result in some warmer water temperatures. It's exactly what you would think about with, say, a pool. The deep end of your pool is going to be a lot cooler than the water that is present in the shallow end. And also, in turn, maybe some swamps. That water is a little bit lower. Maybe the reason that the gator found its way to the McDonald's parking lot as of last week in downtown Macon. All jokes aside on that one, but another impact that we start to see is tree stress begins. And what we mean by that is premature leaf falls, some stunted growth, a variety of different symptoms that you will see with some of that vegetation. Really, the premature leaf fall is the main thing we have been seeing. You're probably seeing a lot of leaves on the ground scattered about your yard, scattered about the road. You may think, oh, okay, the fall season is finally underway. Those leaves are just starting to fall off the trees and the trees are just going to lose any of that vegetation that they do have. It's a little bit too early for that. We have to start seeing some fall foliage before that happens, and we're not expecting peak fall foliage for quite some time. We'll talk about when we're expecting to see all those beautiful colors with the leaves, but any leaves that continue to fall right now are just because they're not receiving enough water from all of those trees. So nothing too drastic as of right now. Some actions that you can take, obviously, like I said, filling up the watering can, carving out a couple times throughout the day to water your flowers, maybe water any plants or crops that you may have. Specifically in the morning and evening hours, you want to do it in those hours where you're limiting the amount of evaporation. So when you have less sunlight out, those are going to be your hours of less evaporation. That's typically in the early morning hours before sunrise. And then, of course, that's going to be the evening hours where you're approaching sunset. And something else that you can just continue to do is plant mulch, because planting mulch on top of a lot of plants that you do have, it's going to help that soil retain a lot of the moisture that it does have, if it does have any. So my advice would be maybe water some of those flowers, give it a little bit more water than you think it needs, and put some mulch on top of it, because you're going to hydrate that soil and it's going to retain all of that moisture a little bit better if it does have the mulch on top of it. So now let's go into future view. Let's see if we have any much needed hydration from Mother Nature in the natural way over the course of this weekend. Well, you will see some passing high level cloud cover throughout your Friday evening, and then this is going right around kickoff time for football games. Not a single drop of rain in sight, which is a very good thing for those outdoor activities. That has been our saving grace. Yes, we definitely need the rain, but if we're not going to have the rain, at least we have some fall feeling temperatures that we've had present this past Thursday, and we're going to continue to have present throughout Friday. We transition into the nighttime hours, 11 p.m. when most football games should be wrapped up. The Georgia National Fair will be wrapping up. Still just some high level cloud cover, but we will continue to see that cloud cover try to build in and be more widespread through the morning hours on Saturday. Still a good amount of gaps in this cloud cover, so your morning low temperatures should still be pretty similar to what we've seen over the last couple of days, but overall I do believe maybe a couple degrees warmer than those numbers that we have seen. And along with that, the breeze still remains present in the early morning hours. When you have a breeze present, typically your morning low temperatures don't drop as low as they absolutely could. Now let's go into Saturday afternoon, right around lunchtime. Still kind of some partly cloudy skies, maybe mainly some mostly cloudy skies. We do see those gaps maybe where we're seeing some peaks of sunshine. It should allow for a decent warm up, but this is more cloud cover than what we've been dealing with over the last couple of days. We transition into Saturday afternoon, 3 o'clock. Maybe some light showers just to the east of us. Some of those could make their presence known here in central Georgia. I will say the last model run did have these sprinkles over our easternmost counties. But what you need to know is the cloud cover is going to be pretty prominent throughout Saturday. And within that, you could catch a couple light showers, only a very slim chance of rain, about a 10% chance of rain throughout your Saturday. It does look like most areas are going to be mostly dry. So outdoor plans that you have on Saturday, you are still looking good to go. Now let's go into Sunday, where we start off the morning hours, maybe when you're heading out to church. Nice and clear, a couple scattered light showers getting going before lunchtime, but then it's this cluster of moisture that moves in off the Atlantic coast, and it does look like we have mainly scattered showers, some pockets of steadier, maybe even some heavier rain. It's going to be very hit or miss, but this is the most significant rain chance we've seen as of recently, and this is a whole lot of green. So this is going to be relatively light rainfall, I think, for most. Not going to do a good job at maybe providing for some relief from the dry conditions that have settled in. We go into the nighttime hours on Sunday. All those rain chances are trying to fizzle out, maybe 1 or 2 showers trying to hold on, but I imagine they don't have too much more of a lifespan past the midnight hour. So the big reason for this will be the uptick in moisture. So when we take a look at the muggy meter, you will see Friday has probably the lowest moisture of any day over the next 7 days until we get to next Thursday, but that's still a bit up in the air. When you go into those last 3 days on the muggy meter, we see a lot of fluctuation with some of that. So we will continue to see the environment get a little bit more humid each and every day, and we'll hold on to that humidity as we go into the beginning of next week. But we could see it fluctuate a little. So the drier we are, the less chance of rain that you do have, but the muggier that we are, you have a better chance of rain as we head into next week. Something that's been present all throughout the past work week have been the winds. A steady breeze just about each and every day. We're going to continue to hold on to that, not only throughout the morning and afternoon hours on Friday, but we will hold on to it into Friday evening. Maybe a little bit less gusty in nature, only some gusts up to 15 or 18 miles per hour. But in the morning hours, we'll start to see that breeze build back in, a gust up to 20, maybe even 22 miles per hour throughout your Saturday morning. Going into Saturday evening, the breeze once again starting to wane down, but it still remains present, and we're still going to see shaded areas of blue and yellow as we go into Sunday morning and Sunday afternoon, where we actually could see our gustiest winds as you are heading out to church, maybe in that late morning time period on Sunday morning. So now let's go to your weekend outlook. How does this shape up in graphic form with your highs and lows and your rain chances? Mostly sunny skies for Friday. I do believe whatever you see in the way of cloud cover isn't going to do a good job of blocking that sunshine. High temperature of 81, so only 2 degrees warmer than what the high temperature was on Thursday of 79. 82 for a high temperature on Saturday. I think it's going to be a mostly cloudy atmosphere and a minuscule 10% chance of seeing a light shower or a brief sprinkle. And then a 40% chance of those scattered showers on Sunday. High temperature once again of 81. But the big difference that we see, at least numbers wise, between each day over the course of this weekend will be your morning lows. 59 was the morning low on Friday. We had some areas get down to 58, 57 degrees. 60 for a morning low on Saturday, so not too much change. But as we continue to build that cloud cover in and the denser it gets in the morning hours, how about 65 for a morning low on Sunday? So when you have cloud cover present in the mornings, it keeps those numbers a little bit warmer, because whatever surface heat that you do receive the day before, that cloud cover staying present in the nighttime hours kind of acts as a trapping mechanism. So that surface heat, that surface radiation tries to go back out into the atmosphere as you go overnight. Well, what's it running into? The bottom of those cloud tops, and that's reflecting it back down to the surface. So you kind of create a bit of a greenhouse effect during the overnight hours associated with cloud cover that is present during this time of year. But the counteraction of that is it won't allow the afternoon highs to get as high, because any more radiation you're trying to receive from the sun throughout the day is going to reflect off the top of those clouds. So it's not going to reach the surface. It will keep our temperatures a little bit cooler in the afternoons. So here's your fair forecast for your Friday. We're going to continue to update this graphic day by day and give you a planner about what times of the day will be best to head out to the Georgia National Fairgrounds, and maybe what time of the day that you're probably going to want to have a contingency plan to head indoors, maybe head under the clock tower and just get a little bit of cover if we have maybe a short-lived shower or two. Lots of sunshine, feeling great, and then cooling down. Those are great headlines to write for your Friday. Temperatures will be mighty pleasant, but as you head out around the 10 a.m. hour, going to be a little bit on the cooler side, and the same story with the evenings as you head towards closing time. The official closing time of the fair is at 9 p.m., but the rides, the vendors, some of those carnival games, they're all going to continue to go on until 11 p.m. And it is worth noting that I do believe if you're under 17 years of age that you have to be accompanied by an adult past that closing time curfew of 9 p.m. Sunset 7:16 on Friday. That's the time that you're going to want to look out for some of those sunset photos at the fair, and please continue to send those in to us at 13 WMAZ. And that will be the case all throughout the fair. Just past 7 p.m. the sun is going to continue to get closer and closer to setting, and you'll see those beautiful colors in the sky, pending how much cloud cover that you have. A breeze out of the northeast, sustained from about 5 to 15 miles per hour, with the occasional gusts up to 25 miles per hour. I think this forecast is going to be the same virtually day by day over the course of this weekend. We'll just have some slight fluctuation in the temperatures, and I do believe the afternoon to evening time frame will be your best shot at rain, say on Sunday for the Georgia National Fair. Football Friday night, 79 degrees for tailgate and mostly clear. Can't write up a better forecast than that. It's pretty textbook October day out at the gridiron. 73 degrees as you approach sunset around kickoff time, and then 67 degrees as you're heading home. Probably some light jacket weather, so make sure, or whatever bag that you're bringing in, just to pack the coat. Keep yourself a little bit warm as you approach final score. And of course, if you go into overtime, those temperatures going to be a little bit cooler. Well, it's a busy weekend all across the state of Georgia football-wise. The Mercer Bears are back at Five Star Stadium, squaring off against the Samford Bulldogs, making the trip over from Birmingham. That kickoff going to be at 4 p.m., so for tailgating around 1 p.m., expect a pretty gloomy atmosphere and then maybe the very slim chance of a brief shower around kickoff. Bring the rain jacket if you would like, but I think you have a good likelihood of dodging the rain all throughout the outdoor activities that you have here in downtown Macon. And then 7 p.m. around final score time, we will see the numbers start to cool down into the low 70s. And if you run into a bit of traffic as you're heading out from the stadium, maybe get out around 8 p.m. Those numbers are very likely going to flirt with the upper 60s. Sunset going to be at 7:14 in Macon this weekend. The Georgia Bulldogs, after a tough loss, yes, this past weekend. I was up there in Sanford Stadium last weekend. It was quite sad, but we still have a whole season in front of us. And this is a get back on track game right here against the Kentucky Wildcats. It's an early kickoff, so it's going to be a bit of a chilly start if you're planning on tailgating at 9 a.m. Temperatures up in North Georgia are going to be cooler than down here in Central Georgia. 62 degrees. So yes, bundle up if you have plans to tailgate early and heading up 441 to Athens. 12 p.m. kickoff conditions will be mostly cloudy to partly cloudy and temperatures in the low 70s. And you have the chance of some possible rain as you're heading home around 3 or 4 o'clock. Not going to really run into that sunset, but if you have plans to maybe wait out the traffic, stay in Athens and have a little bit of fun, sunset will be at 7:13. So obviously don't want to make too many driving plans past that time because there's a whole lot of deer in between here and Athens on those back roads. Georgia Tech football forecast. Heading back to Bobby Dodd Stadium where they're looking for a bit of a revenge game against the Virginia Tech Hokies. Somehow Georgia Tech did not squeak that one out last year up in Blacksburg, but the Hokies are coming down into Atlanta, into Bobby Dodd Stadium this year, and kickoff going to be at 3:30. I believe this might even be an ESPN or ACC network game. Temperatures somewhere in the 70s all throughout tailgate time into kickoff time. Doesn't look like the rain chances up in Atlanta are quite as good as what we have farther over to the east in northeast Georgia and Athens and down here in central Georgia. So you should just plan on your fair share of cloud cover. Overall, I think it's going to be a great feeling football game up in Atlanta as the Yellow Jackets square off against the Hokies. For your weekend grillcast, I think Friday and Saturday are the days that you want to fire up the grill. Sunday's where things get a little bit iffy, so have a bit of caution if there's still some scattered showers in the forecast. Overall, I would probably make plans to cook inside or maybe order in for your Sunday evening. And if you do want to get any grilling done, Friday evening and Saturday evening are going to be your best time. And I wanted to throw in another fun little graphic for you, pickleball forecast. This is the time of year that you definitely want to head out to the hardtop. Your pickleball forecast all throughout the weekend. I think Friday and Saturday mornings going to be great times to go out and play some pickleball. But as you go into Saturday afternoon, temperatures still a little bit on the warmer side. I still think it's going to be a mainly gloomy atmosphere. And then Sunday, you're going to run into those light showers really in the afternoon time frame. So if you're heading out on Sunday morning, maybe a brief sprinkle or two, but overall you should have plenty of cloud cover. Not going to be too hot out there on the hardtop all weekend long. So now let's talk about those sunrises and sunsets. As of last Friday, I do believe it was, we marked the first day where the nights are actually going to be longer than the days. So we're going to have less than 12 hours of daylight for the foreseeable future. As we head to the midway point of the month of October, 7:38 a.m. sunrise, so that sunrise continuing to get later and later. But this is going to be our last 7 p.m. sunset. So on October 16th, the sun is going to set at 6:59 p.m., continuing to get earlier and earlier. Hours of daylight on October 15th, just under 11 and a half hours of daylight. November 2nd will be that important date. That's when we're switching the clocks. That's when we're going to fall back. You're going to like it in the aspect that you get an hour extra of sleep, but you're not going to like it in the aspect that the sunset will be before 6 p.m., 5:42 p.m. sunset. And the good side of it is maybe if you like the earlier sunrise, you like seeing more sunlight if you're heading out the door early, that sunrise will be back before 7 a.m., but going to be under 11 hours of daylight on November 2nd. And then your shortest day of the calendar year, that will be the winter solstice, the first day of winter on December 21st. 7:33 a.m. sunrise and a 5:32 p.m. sunset for just under 10 hours of daylight. Obviously, it feels like you're losing time. You don't have enough time to get things done throughout the day whenever you don't have enough daylight. But I, for one, am so excited about it because I have an early bedtime already, and it's going to push that even a little bit earlier if it's already going to be dark, say around 6 p.m. So let's go into your long-range models. What's ahead as we head into that first full week of fall break? Many people having some fair plans. I think day by day what you need to plan on are some scattered shower chances. So not going to be a complete washout whatsoever. I do think that maybe if you just bring the rain gear out to the Georgia National Fairgrounds, you'll be good to go each and every day. That goes for Monday, that goes for Tuesday, and as we go into Wednesday, we start to see signs of a frontal boundary approaching from the north. Right now, not the best organization of rain that the long-range models are picking up on as of right now, but it does look like that will continue to push down towards the south. And you obviously see down here in the Gulf, maybe something tropical trying to get organization, maybe move on shore somewhere. Well, this frontal boundary, I think, will continue to push down towards the south. Whatever does try to creep up north in terms of that tropical moisture should get ushered back down into the Gulf. But I think by the time we get into Friday, we will start to see another drier and another cooler pattern settle in as we head into the closing weekend of the Georgia National Fair. In terms of your morning lows, they will get their increase starting really on Sunday, somewhere in the mid-60s, and we'll stay there for the foreseeable future as long as we continue to keep the cloud cover present. It will keep these numbers above average, and your average low now 59 degrees. So the 50s are going to continue to be more and more common as we transition well into the month of October. Afternoon high temperatures still around average at the most, but I think we'll be nestled in the low to right around 80-degree mark each and every day, Monday all the way through Thursday next week. But what's in store past that? Well, it doesn't look like those fall feeling temperatures are really going to be in the near future. October 10th through the 16th, so that's going to be next Friday all the way through the following Thursday. A decent chance and a decent probability of seeing some above normal temperatures. You can see the probability is even greater the farther west that you travel, but it doesn't look like those fall-like temperatures are going to settle in anytime soon. And it may be because of this, because your precipitation outlook has this near normal levels of precipitation, or maybe even a slight probability of being below normal during that same time period. Obviously, you have less in the way of rain, you have more sunshine, and that's going to allow for some warmer temperatures. And let's say you have a cold front come through, and that's going to bring some of that cooler and drier air for a couple of days. So as we look ahead, we have a lot of things to look forward to. The next of which actually going to be Halloween in 28 days, so less than a month until Halloween. Go ahead and start heading out to those Spirit Halloween stores, maybe heading on Amazon and picking apart which costume that you want to dress up as this year. Election days will be 4 days after Halloween. Halloween will be on a Friday. Election day is going to be on that following Tuesday. Then you'll have Veterans Day in 39 days. Many of you going to have that day off of school. I do believe it falls in the middle of a school week, so it may be a random Tuesday or Wednesday that you just have off school. Not a bad thing if you have a 2-day school week, a bit of a break, and then another 2-day school week, then you roll into the weekend. But then just a week or two past that, we have Thanksgiving in 55 days. This is definitely one of the most exciting times of year where you really start to get into all those fall festivities. And of course, Thanksgiving, one of my favorite holidays personally. I make sure that I don't eat a big breakfast whatsoever. I don't eat all throughout the day so I can stuff myself for an early dinner on that holiday. So I did mention we talk about that peak fall foliage. What you're seeing right now is that premature leaf falling courtesy of the dry conditions that have settled in. We'll start to actually see those beautiful colors in the leaves, and the leaves start to fall naturally as we go into mid-November. So still quite a while before we start to see fall, and hopefully we can get some fall feeling temperatures before we actually get into this time period. But if you want to see that fall foliage a little bit earlier, I would suggest going to the North Georgia mountains. It does look like it's going to be late October for that peak fall foliage, and we've already gotten many reports of some of the leaves starting to turn. So the tropics have been active as of the last week, and then we got a bit of a lull as we knew Hurricanes Imelda and Hurricane Humberto were going to move away from the United States. Well, we now have two other areas that have been identified for potential development over the course of the next couple of days. The first of which is not any specific area outlined right now. It's actually going to be a tropical wave that is currently continuing its push off the coast of Africa, but it does look like this is going to be a pretty conducive environment for development. 40%, a moderate chance of developing over the course of the next week, but a 0% chance of developing over the next 48 hours. I still think it's going to be another 7 to 10 days before anything develops name-wise down in the tropics. We do have an area a little bit closer to home. In fact, right where Hurricane Imelda just went through in the Bahamas, a slim 10% chance of developing over the next 2 days and over the next 7 days. I don't have a lot of confidence in this forming into a named storm. I think it's just going to be a disorganized cluster of moisture that will continue to creep farther up to the north. And this is exactly what we would want to see this time of year, given how dry we've been. A disorganized cluster of some moisture. Yes, it may bring some gusty winds. It could even bring a few thunderstorms, but we need the rain so desperately at this point. We will take some form of a non-tropical system, or maybe just a big center of low pressure that can move through, surge some moisture up here into the southeast and give us some much needed rain, maybe all in one sitting, maybe over the course of a couple of days. But right now the long range models aren't hinting at widespread rain whatsoever. So we'll continue to keep an eye out on that. I don't think that's really anything of concern. That's just going to be what causes our rain over the next couple of days. So we did cross off Umberto and Imelda. So the next two names to claim would be Jerry and Karen. And I believe, if my math is correct, that is the 10th and 11th named storms of the 2025 hurricane season list. So where do we stand in terms of our numbers so far in the hurricane season? It does say as of September 30th. This is still as of October 2nd. So this past Thursday, we haven't had anything formed since Hurricanes Umberto and Hurricane Imelda. On average, we typically see 14 named storms in the Atlantic. Half of those are normally classified as hurricanes, so 74 plus mile per hour winds. And of those hurricanes, we typically see just below half 3 major hurricanes, which are category 3 or higher. Colorado State normally does a very good job with their forecast each and every year. They give us a set number, and they forecasted an above average season with 17 named storms, 9 hurricanes, and 4 of those being some major hurricanes. Well, our numbers are definitely below average and below what Colorado State thinks thus far, but that makes sense. We still have about 2 months to go with hurricane season. We've only seen 9 named storms compared to the 14 that we see on average. 4 of those have been classified as hurricanes, but this is kind of the staggering number right here. On average, we see 3 major hurricanes in an Atlantic hurricane season. We've already gotten those 3 major hurricanes. We had Hurricane Gabrielle, Hurricane Aaron, and Hurricane Umberto that popped up above Category 3 status, including Umberto and I believe it was Aaron that both got Category 5 status. But very thankfully, most of these tropical systems that have formed, they have moved back out to sea and they have been nothing to worry about. So that's going to do it for your extended weekend forecast here on 13 WMAZ Plus. Once again, a good reminder, we have moved the timing of this daily if you want to watch live at 11 a.m. to allow for me to give you the latest update with our tropical systems, because if we have a named storm out there, the latest advisory tends to come out at 11 a.m. and I want to give you the latest data, and obviously don't want you watching something that is as of old. So thank you for tuning in, and be sure to tune back on Monday at 11 a.m. We'll have another look at what's in store for the next work week ahead in the first full work week, but also fall break forecast for everyone here in Central Georgia. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you at 11 a.m. on Monday.